reach the president.
Randy, your volume's off. You need to turn your microphone on.
Mine is on.
You were muted when I looked at the screen.
This calls keep coming in. It takes the Zoom out. All right, I'm back. Okay.
Okay, maybe shut your phone off.
You'll have to chair the meeting, Councilman Carter, because I've been unable to reach the president.
Okay. And I'm gonna let you know I have no documents on this phone right now. But go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Call the meeting to order.
Randy, you need to call the meeting to order.
So someone has to do the invocation, Councilman Carter.
All right. Ms. Petula, please do the honor.
Thanks. Appreciate that.
I love you too.
Thanks, Randy. Lord, help us all. We ask that you bless the city, that you bless the leaders in this meeting, that you make this meeting a productive meeting, that we go through it with no hesitation, and we take care of the city's business as we should. We ask that you bless us all coming Thanksgiving holiday. We ask that you bless our food, bless us, take care of us, and watch over us all as it's a rough time at this time. With that, thank you, Lord. Amen.
All right, Mr. Clerk.
So now pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic.
For which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so next we have a roll call. Carter.
All right, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Carter.
Jeff, just called your name.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Petula.
I'm here.
Ramsky.
Present.
Dr. Taylor.
Present.
Waterman.
Trees Waterman, City of Pontiac.
Williams. Okay. So, sir, here you have a form. You need an authorization to excuse President Williams.
So moved.
I'll move to excuse Williams for personal reasons.
Oh, Mary. Okay.
Support.
Move.
Support Waterman. All right.
I'll call the roll. Miller.
Yes.
Petula.
Yes.
Ramsky.
Yes.
Taylor Burks.
Yes.
Waterman.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes. This is
Okay.
the 23rd.
24th. It's the 24th. Next on the agenda is amendments to and approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Council President Pro Tem.
Yes.
I would request that the agenda be amended to remove the closed session. Since we took action on Saturday, we have nothing else on that topic.
I appreciate that.
Support. Support that. Move it. Support.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Clerk.
Okay. Petula.
Yes.
Ramsky.
Yes.
Taylor Burks.
Yes.
Waterman.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays. Were there any other amendments? If not, then you need someone to move to approve the agenda as amended.
All right,
So
flying blind.
moved, Mr. Clerk.
Support.
Who was that?
Support.
That was Waterman and supported by Taylor Burks to approve the amended agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Yeah, I do not have, this copy.
Okay.
It's not coming through.
Okay. Shramsky, I'll call a roll. President Pro Tem. Shramsky. Shramsky.
You didn't hear me? Yes.
Okay. Taylor Burks.
Yes.
Waterman.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Hila.
Yes.
6 yeas. That's the approval of the amended agenda. Next is approval of the minutes. So this is the November 16th, 2020 special meeting minutes.
So moved.
Support. Support.
I'll call the roll. Taylor Burks.
Yes.
Waterman.
Yes.
Carter.
Stain. Should say no.
Miller.
No.
Hila.
Yes.
Shramsky.
Yes.
Okay. 4 yeas, 1 nay, 1 abstention. Next
Thank you.
is the approve the minutes from November 17th, 2020 study
Second.
session.
So moved. Support.
Thank you.
Was,
Waterman,
Yes.
Carter,
No, I wasn't there. Abstain, I'm sorry.
Miller,
Thank you.
you what abstaining? Okay. Hila.
I have a question. Was that Saturday's meeting?
So this is the study session from November 17th,
What day of the week was that?
Tuesday, last week Tuesday.
Yes. Yes.
Shramsky,
Yes.
Taylor Burks.
Yes.
4 yeas, 2 abstentions. Okay. Next is subcommittee report, public safety report.
The only thing I have with public safety, because we are under a watch on COVID again, we had the report sent to us, and each of the reports been sent to the clerk for on the agenda, as you can see. That's what we're talking about now. The only change that we have had that I have heard about is Sergeant Tremonti is no longer with the Pontiac substation. He is now with SIU, and Sergeant Adam Miller is now the DPU sergeant, and Sergeant Eric Hicks, who was the DPU sergeant, is now taking Sergeant Tremonti's spot in the Detective Bureau. One thing we did discuss, and Madam Mayor, this does concern you, is the snowfall. The snowfall is a dangerous thing that people do not clear their sidewalks for, and I know last year it cost about $900 out of the budget for a DPU in order for them to send out the notices to the businesses. It is not on the city website. Madam Mayor, that is yours. I would ask that you put it on both the Facebook for the city and also on the city website, where it's on the front coverage of the page, because I sent out a notice on Sunday, and we got wonderful response to it, but that's only 168 people in this city. We need to cover the thousands that live here. So if you could do that, that would be much appreciated. That is a safety issue that we do have to deal with. And with that, The rest of the reports are in your packet. Thank you.
Okay, the closed session was removed, so the next item are special presentations. So this first special presentation is the medical marijuana application review process update. This is the monthly status update on the application process. And the main thing is that the grower and processor applications are now in the compliance stage, and as well as the Cesar Chavez applications are with the planning advisor, so they're in the compliance stage. As well too. This gives you an update as to what each reviewer has reviewed, what is currently under review by each reviewer, and actually, so the financial advisor is now reviewing the downtown provisioning center applications. So it's income tax, it's marijuana regulations. Those are the things that Jonathan in my office handle. So he's in downtown treasury. Needs to finish up Cesar Chavez. Code enforcement is in downtown. Planning is now in downtown. He actually received those applications today. And the clerk, I'm finishing up Cesar Chavez, and then I'm be in downtown. So I've added another section as it relates to monthly goals. And so that's for the clerk to finish, because the Cesar Chavez are almost finished, is to finish the downtown district, the clerk's office. And as well as the financial advisor will finish the downtown district as well. Unresolved issues, those are the pending unresolved issues that have been there for the last few months. And then it's just the review process. So, I want to share something else.
Waiting.
So what you will see, this is the newsletter. The clerk's office has got a newsletter. Thought it was important to do a newsletter on the medical marijuana process. This newsletter will go to every household in the city of Pontiac, because since we're in the compliance phase of the grower and processor, and so we'll be announcing the top 5 for Cesar Chavez. I wanted the public to be informed as to what's happening. So the newsletter talks about the entire process, the scoring system, how provisioning centers are scored. In here is each district. The overlay districts, Cesar Chavez, downtown, and Walton, and it lists the available applications that are available in each district, and as it relates to provisioning centers, how many. And in addition to that, it lists all of the applicants and the addresses, so where people aren't surprised as we begin to license these facilities as to where, in essence, they are going. is information about the non-overlay district and, non-overlay. And the, all of the applicants who applied there as well too. And then it talks about the other applications, safety compliance, which we don't have. We haven't received any safety compliance applications. We did receive one secure transporter application. That application was denied, so we don't have any secure transporter application. And then it lists the grower and processor applications that applied that are not in the Cesar Chavez or Walton overlay district. And as you know, the ordinance currently states that grower and processors can only go into Cesar Chavez or Walton. So it gives information about that process. It details the review, each phases of the review process, so the public can know that as well. And it talks about the process for appeal. And then it lists the review team, myself, Jonathan in my office, and the professional experts, and the appeals hearing officer, and the credentials of each of them. And then on the that's just contact information about the clerk's office. People can keep this in the polling locations, where the drop boxes, because the drop boxes that were established during the election are permanent drop boxes. And then I included the names of all the elected officials and all of your contact information. To the mayor and the council members, their names, which district the council member represents. So that ends my presentation. So we can.
Clerk, are you going to send that to us?
Yes, I can send you. I can email you a copy of it.
Thank you.
So next on the agenda, from Tim Carter is the UW sidewalk.
I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is that the Glenwood?
Yes, I want to know why Glenwood is not included in any of this. I didn't hear you call Glenwood at all.
Glenwood is included in the document. On the page where I said applicant, grower and processor applications that are not in Cesar Chavez or Walton. Let me back up. Here we go, where it says other applications. So currently, the way the zoning ordinance 2363 is written, grower and processor applications can only be located in Cesar Chavez or Walton. But I list here, the city has received the following grower and processor applications that are not in either the Cesar Chavez or Walton overlay district. And Glenwood Plaza is here. As you can see, is a couple applications with the Glenwood address listed right here on the screen, from Pharmaco and as well from Family Roots. So what happens to these applications? If you remember, in January of this year, the City Council submitted a proposed zoning map amendment to the Planning Commission, allow grower and processor facilities to locate outside the Cesar Chavez and Walton Boulevard overlay districts. The Planning Commission has yet to issue a recommendation to the City Council. City Council must receive a recommendation from the Planning Commission prior to amending Ordinance 2363. So until Ordinance 2363 is amended, these applications cannot be licensed by the Office of the City Clerk. That's the status of the Glenwood. They have been reviewed, but until the ordinance is changed, that's the particular issue with Glenwood. So the Planning Commission needs to take up this matter. You did refer an amendment, a zoning map amendment to the Planning Commission back in January. The Planning Commission hasn't dealt with the issue.
Yeah. Councilwoman Taylor Burks brings up a very important issue with regard to Glenwood. This is Tony Chubb. The clerk previously asked for legal advice as to whether, as a result of the conditional rezoning that this council granted to the Glenwood site, whether those grow and process licenses could be issued on that site. It made it very clear that as a result of the conditional rezoning, again, that this honorable council passed, that those licenses can be granted regardless of any proposed amendment to the zoning ordinance. Subsequently, to allay the ongoing concerns of the clerk, we asked Matt Gibb, who again is a specialist in this area, to professionally weigh in on this issue, and he confirmed that my analysis is accurate. This is very important, council, because you have made the moves to have Glenwood established as grows as part of that bigger development that is $40 million coming into the city, 500 jobs coming into the city, and a grocery store that is extremely needed on the Near East side of the city. It is, if the clerk fails to act consistent with my legal interpretation, we will be in tremendous legal jeopardy. I will guarantee we will have lawsuits against us that are absolutely needless because, again, it would be the clerk not conforming to the opinion of the city attorney. You can't, everyone plays a role as set forth in the charter, and my role is very clear. He does not have a role in interpreting statutes, and of course, he is not an attorney. And so I would ask that this council do everything necessary to ensure that the clerk moves forward with the issuance of that license after the review of that application or those applications on the Glenwood site are complete.
Mr. Clerk,
Mr. Turner.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. As a matter of fact, they should have stood in line like everybody else and should have played under the same rules. I do stand by your suggestion. I think what the council did was actually in error. I'm sorry, Mr. Chubb, I did not agree. I agree with a lot split, but I did not agree that they came Johnny come lately. Everybody else had already followed the rules. We didn't change the amendment, even though they have a special zoning permission. I still feel that they do not have a right to open up anything in that Glenwood Plaza that was out of the overlay. Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
So the ordinance is very clear. It's not a zoning issue, it's a licensing issue. And the ordinance clearly states that no license can be granted to any grower or processor. It's the licensing section of the ordinance. And it states, no grower or processor can be licensed outside the Cesar Chavez or Walton Boulevard overlay districts. So this is an issue that actually the planning commission needs to address.
And this is what I want to ask you, darling. That's what I want to ask. Why won't the planning commission take this up?
I can't answer that.
Because see, that lets me know as a taxpayer, something is in the game. I mean, I'm just calling it like this. The planning commission could have been done this, and then we won't have this issue of trying to settle this. Then it's the planning commission, that's rectify the problem.
I agree. It did not need to come in front of us, period.
Right, come before us.
So that's just the remaining issue. And I have
Well,
to
it's
hear.
gonna come before somebody, and it's gonna end up if necessary being a lawsuit because this is not they've done everything. They've cleaned it. The place is cleaned up over there, and everything else it has been done. And but this isn't making sense to me. And I'm taking it personal. I really am. If I would step down and somebody else had this seat, they would go ahead. They would be able to get it.
No, it's a life.
I believe the way the ordinance was read, there's no changes to the ordinance till after 1 year after after these other people done already did what they had to do?
Mr. Chairman, if I might, Mr. Chairman, if I might,
Is that Waterman?
yes, sir.
I'm sorry, my speaker is very, is
That's okay.
distorted. Go ahead.
Too many people are jumping in and I really can't. I'm just gonna ask, maybe this might be something that you might take to a subcommittee, that we can probably get, some more direction from the clerk to see how this goes, but I do understand exactly what the clerk has said, but I see we're going back and forth, so there needs to be some adequate clarification on how this thing needs to be handled, so we don't continuously go online, putting this out here online. Let's try to do something on, as a subcommittee to see, what steps need to be truly taken to get this thing taken care of, sir. And thank you,
I would agree,
Mr. Chair.
I would agree. Councilman Waterman, and I would agree, except the way the ordinance was written,
I
we can't
understand,
modify anything on it.
I understand. Thank you.
And Councilman Waterman, I would agree with that. I think it needs to not be in the discussion as it relates to an applicant. I'm not sure, Attorney Chubb, I get your
Right.
point, but I would imagine that, you know, there's one way of discussing an issue versus putting an applicant out here and discussing the applicant's issue. And so I kind of take, I don't think this is the proper way of dealing with this by putting the applicant at issue here.
This
So
issue-
I would,
This is,
I think it's one thing to deal with the issue, it's another thing again to bring the applicant's name and the discussion of the situation to the public.
Yes.
I just think there's a different way to handle it.
yeah, Ms. Sharp, this has been an issue for over a year. It's coming to a head.
Sure it has.
I know that certain council people are very excited about this grocery store. We risk the entire development because, you know, obviously the mayor does not have the powers over the clerk that the council has. And so that's why I'm asking this council, you're the ones that can take action, and unfortunately,
I love it.
At the same time, this is not
Mr.
appropriate.
Pro Tem.
Yes.
cut this
Yeah, we need to stop this right now, because the applicant is already on the front page of Detroit News already bashing us. So, his business is already out.
Councilman Carter, can I say something? I would like to say something as well, Councilman Carter.
Is that, Miller? Okay, I'm trying to hear the voices.
Yes.
Okay,
This is Miller.
okay.
I agree. I think, it's not so much that we are elected officials, and I ain't going to jail for no wrongdoing. None whatsoever. And that's the problem I have with it. It's nothing personal. It was not part of the original agreement with the OAU. It was not. That was a late joke in the game. And I don't care who's for it. I'm not voting for it until it goes before that Senate committee, because we can legally get sued for doing wrong things. Who's going to issue the license? There's a lot of things that, and it do need to go to the subcommittee. So somebody pick a subcommittee to go to. And I'm telling you where I'm at. Until it goes before that plan, and go.
Yes. All right, Mr. Clerk. Was there anything else I don't think there's anything else we can do other than go into planning. The ordinance cannot be changed. This is the same in the beginning with the overlays. The overlays should, where we tried to make them amenable. They should never have been used. Should have been fair for all the whole city. If there's anything else we can do, Mr. Clerk, you can bring it up to us in writing, and then we can discuss it at another forum. But I don't think there's anything we can do. We can't change the ordinance.
Mr. Pro Tem,
Who?
Mr. Pro Tem and Spirit.
Yes.
I said the planning commissioner has joined the meeting on Zoom. Can he speak to this matter?
It can go in front of planning and
No.
they can make recommendations, but not today. Not today. They can,
Okay, hear you.
yeah, let them schedule a meeting, and they can go ahead and discuss it with us, what their findings are versus what the ordinance says. Not today.
So next on the agenda, Pro Tem Carter, is Avenue Sidewalk Repair.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll introduce you, the city engineer.
is here to give 2 presentations from DPW today. This is Mr. Abdul Siddiqui, who's previously met, he's fairly new for our staff as city engineer. But we do have a sidewalk program. We want to start talking about the sidewalk repair, and he's going to give that presentation now. Thank you so much. He's been doing a lot of work on this, and a lot of people have been asking questions. And we want the public to know that we're well underway with the sidewalk program, and this is the beginning of the conversation about this.
And please get sharing access to share my screen.
Okay, what sidewalks are being repaired?
Well, he wants to share his screen so he can show us.
All right, please.
Are you able to share this, the Pro Tem, you do something with the screen, or can you, Pro Tem, you may need to give back that, operation capacity to our IT so they can, share the presentation.
Yeah, please do, because on my phone I have very limited capabilities, and I only have photos of the.
Okay. Ken, are you?
Carolyn's the host at this time.
Oh, Garland, okay.
I'm trying.
There are also some.
Okay, one of the things with these virtual meetings, and very soon we're going to do this, is that IT needs to really stay in control of the IT part of it, the broadcast part. So we'll make that so we don't have these kind of glitches during meetings.
Carolyn, can you make Mr. Siddiqui the host, and then he would be
Nope,
able to
you
do
can
it?
share. You can share screen now.
Thank you. So can everyone see the presentation here?
Yeah.
Yes, we can see it.
So, first presentation here is about the city sidewalk program, sort of the history of it, and where we are right now and what we're hoping to do in the future. So the city has about 420 miles of sidewalks, about 120 miles along major streets, and the sidewalks along major streets are usually addressed with the major street projects. Then we have about 300 miles along local streets, mostly residentials. That's the subject of this presentation for the most part. I think we know that there's high volume of pedestrian traffic in the city, and fortunately sidewalks have not received the attention that they deserve. As we can see here, there were CDBG funds utilized in the early 2000s, about $250,000 to $400,000 annually to repair sidewalks. No funds were applied from 2009 to 2017, and really to 2019. So that's about 10 years there that very little, if any, sidewalk repair was done in the city. In 2019, we utilized 2017 CDBG funds, about $650,000 to repair sidewalks. The worst areas were determined just by an informal survey by the engineers at the time. And all sidewalk complaints that had been received, so I'd like to share here a map that shows the work that was done. So you can see there was area over here was done in 2019. District 2 there was area 1 over here was addressed, and there were some streets that were addressed with street projects such as Jesse, and then the rest of these, the dots that you're seeing, are complaints that were addressed throughout the city. So all complaints that were received all complaints that were received prior to bid were also addressed in 2019. About $150,000 in 2019 was utilized for horizontal saw cutting, so grinding of the sidewalk edges that were raised less than 2 inches. You might have seen that around the city and also in front of City Hall here. The edges of the sidewalks were grinded, some of the slabs. And so where we're at right now, we have $100,000 from 2019 CDBG funds plus $256,000 from 2020 CDBG funds that we can apply in the 2021 construction season. That's approximately 1,900 flags or slabs of sidewalk. Depends on the bid, what the bids come in at, obviously. Right now, the proposed areas for that program are, and I'll go back to the map here, are down here south of South Boulevard along Franklin. That's one area. The other is Pioneer Highlands area over here. The third area is here sort of completes the neighborhood that we started last year. And so that's where we'll be spending these $356,000, and that's approximately 900 flags out of the 1,900 flags that we can do. The rest will be, the rest of the funds will be on complaints citywide to be spent on those. There's potentially up to $250,000 more in CDBG funds that can be added to these, that can be repurposed from the Carriage Circle funds that were received from CDBG. So if we can get those $250,000 as well, we're looking at adding some other areas, including possibly, get this right here. I believe it's right here in this area, so bounded by MLK, Pike, and 59. And then another area was in the Victory Car, this area here, where last year we did a lot of complaint-based work, but it seems like there's still a lot of work to be done there. So that's another area we're looking at. And we're also looking at possibly completing this neighborhood. Another area that we are hoping to add with the additional $250,000 is this area here, east of Baldwin, east of Baldwin, south of Walton. So now we also have $100,000 approved for grinding of sidewalk as well, and this will go ahead of the sidewalk replacement. So everything that can be grinded will be grinded, and the rest will be replaced. So anything less than 2 inches of displacement will be horizontal saw cut, and the rest of the distressed sidewalk will be replaced. We're planning on bidding this in winter of 2020, and construction starting in spring of 2021. Now, for the future, we would like to set up a formal process, objective process, for ongoing inspections and rating of sidewalk conditions throughout the city. So we would like to set up an asset management system. You know, we have city works that the city uses. We would like to incorporate all the sidewalks in city works and give them ratings. Like we do PASER ratings for our streets, we would like to do some rating system for our sidewalks, and based on that we can determine what the task is ahead of us, how much work is really required to address all the sidewalk issues in the city. We would also prepare an ADA transition plan to upgrade all ADA ramps to all curb ramps to ADA standard in order to avoid potential litigation. If we have a plan in place, that will help us avoid litigation. Based on findings of whatever inspection, the inspection and grading process, that will give us the cost of the overall repairs and plan. There's multiple approaches. One approach may be that we put together special assessment programs. Since per the city's municipal code, the abutting property owner is responsible for maintaining the sidewalk and private approach and repair. So we could send out notices to the residents and require them to replace their sidewalks. Otherwise, the city will come through with its contractor and replace the sidewalk and then assess the cost to the residents. That is something.
Mr. Duke, I just heard what you just said. Now, I made sure I had my residents to go ahead to send a certified return receipt letter back to the city. Those are the city sidewalks, and the city's supposed to honor them within 120 days by state law. I heard what you just said, making it responsible for the people, but the people notify the city, they need to be done. Colgate and Chicago over at New York is not ADA compatible. Those are step-off curbs. I've been waiting for 10 years for those. The residents don't complain. The law is very specific. It's self-addressed. It's a certified return receipt to the city. The city has to acknowledge in 120 days the city needs to repair it. If not, yes, the residents are responsible.
Which location? So I will say that for the ramps at the corners, the curb ramps, the sidewalk ramps at the corners, those are all city responsibility.
Exactly.
So I'll look into it. What's the location here?
Chicago and Colgate. And the street would be New York, and the other one would be, I believe it's Carlisle. Those had never been done. It's not handicap accessible.
Well, we have to look at our funds that are available to us and prepare a plan for that. And, I'll take a look at what happened here.
Is there, pardon me, sir, is there a right-of-way list that the city has already done an assessment for these streets that need to be, these sidewalks that need to be done?
The city has not done an assessment program for sidewalks in quite a while. The only sidewalk work that has been done in the last, really just last year, is CDBG work, and before that, like I mentioned, for about a decade, the city has not done any sidewalk work, whether it's assessment or CDBG.
All right.
Yes,
Or
Mr.
Sam, I
Chair,
have a question.
yeah.
Okay, Mary? Okay.
Mr. Siddiqui, we have a problem on Euclid, which is just north of 20 Euclid. There are 2 blocks that have probably a 2-inch shift in them. They're on an angle, both of the 2 blocks. I believe there's a tree in there, but it's a vacant lot. So I don't have an address number for you because the house is gone. And I believe that it's probably the county, I don't know. But we need to get that fixed because that is much a safety hazard to anybody walking on that sidewalk. If you can keep your balance, you're lucky. Thank you.
We'll look into that. I know we have in process right now. We have a couple of emergency repairs going on, especially for sidewalk that's been damaged by trees that are public trees.
This is not a public tree. This is a tree. If there is a tree, it's a tree on the property.
So we can look into assessing that to the property owner. When sidewalks that are damaged by city trees, the city is responsible. repairing those. And we have,
Right.
we are addressing some of those right now as we speak. For example, this one over here at, it's not
On Genesee, isn't that a beauty? It's the worst one I've ever seen. It's over
Yes,
a foot.
Right, so these are
I've
some
got two of
the-
those on Euclid.
So we've
That's
we're
the
addressing some of
opposite.
yeah, so we're addressing some of the worst ones here. And really, it's an ineffective way, it's an inefficient way to address these, because we're having to send a as-needed contractor out. And so we're not trying to make this the norm. We hope to roll these into a sidewalk program instead. And going forward, hopefully we'll have once we do our rating system, have a multi-year plan based on the sidewalk problems.
Thank you.
Carter got a call.
Gloria? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I have a question. I'm excuse if I pronounced the name wrong. Is it Abdul? Is your name Abdul? Did I pronounce it correctly? Okay. If you could put your map back up for a moment, put your map back up on the radio, because I want to be sure before I say something. Now, I'm looking in my district, which is District 5. I don't see anything where you're going in 5. Okay.
There was this small area over here that we did last year.
I remember. Okay.
We're doing the rest of this neighborhood this year, and I know it technically doesn't fall in 5, it's right on the border there. And we'll look into other areas in District 5 as well.
Yeah,
Like I
because
said,
the reason I mentioned that is because I noticed that you got a lot in certain districts. You know, we did this political what we do, and it looks kind of bad that I have not one sidewalk, and I know my district pretty well, and I know over by Pontiac Northern in that area and towards one towards Johnson, my area. I've walked over there many times. Sidewalks are up. So if you guys go over near, over by Northern, and over by the what's the name of the store? Carter, what's the name of the store that is on Johnson?
Jonathan Beverage.
Yes, Johnson Beverage. There's 2 streets right there along there. That sidewalks are just terrible. So
This
I
is
would
on
appreciate you
Johnson?
guys looking at it. Correct. I can't think of the streets off the beginning. But I
So
know
like I
that there's
mentioned-
Johnson.
Sorry, like I mentioned in the beginning, Jocelyn is a major street, and so sidewalks
No,
on
it's not
major
Johnson.
streets.
It's not Johnson. The street that runs to Johnson.
Oh,
I'm not talking about Johnson. I'm talking about the street that
Claire.
runs up to Johnson. Yeah, thank you, Oscar. And those 2. I would appreciate it, because I was very street is bound to not doing that.
Okay.
like I said, I mean, next year we'll have I'm hoping in the summer we'll start the grading and sort of the asset management process for sidewalks throughout the city, and once we have those in our asset management software, we'll be able to really see and how the sidewalks rate throughout the city and focus our funding.
If you don't mind me asking, how are you determining where to go? If you don't mind me asking, please, you can share it with me. How are you determining where to go?
So
If you don't, you have to-
right now, a lot of it is complaint based, but like I said, in the future, we're hoping to get to where we're going to rate all of the sidewalks in the city for their condition, and we're going to that way we can have a more objective way of deciding where we're going to spend.
Yeah, because this doesn't look good to me. It really doesn't. I just watched the map. I was watching as you were speaking, and there's nothing in my vision. Come on now, we got to do better than that. That's all I'm saying to you.
Councilwoman Miller?
Because I know,
There's quite a few in your district.
Yeah, Councilwoman Miller?
yeah,
I was just gonna make a reference, because I have over 65 complaints that I had sent to Jackie to DPW, and probably about 30 were actually acted upon last year. And if I understand the way the game is played, the residents complain properly to the city first, then they can actually get a judgment. If not, if the city determines that the damage belongs to the people before the people notify the city got 120 days to do something. But if the residents don't do anything and notify this, there's a proper way of notifying the city. Mr. Chubb knows, he's not speaking about it. There's a proper way that the residents can be resolved to this, and it's a city's responsibility. Thank you.
And I appreciate you, Carter, because I remember when you told me that last year, and I had several of my residents who do just that. You know what they got? Absolutely no response back from the UPS return to center. You didn't get anything back.
All right.
So that game is being played too. So that's not quite working. So
I'll be home in a couple of days. We can revisit that. Okay.
Mr. Pro Tem, can I, Mr. Pro Tem?
Is that the mayor?
Yes, it's also, Councilwoman Waterman, I heard her, but I did also ask to be recognized.
It was Waterman, Tramsky,
Speaker,
and
I'm sorry, my speaker is busted. It's very hard to figure out who's talking. Go ahead. Patrice, was that you?
Okay, thank you, Pro Tem. All I want to do is, with the mayor and staff, send all of us a detailed listing of the properties, because I can't really tell from this map what's going on. What streets and stuff are being taken care of, how this came to be, what is the procedures going forward, because I know over in my area, there are some bad streets. Matter of fact, I have a personal complaint, because my insurance company wanted to charge me for a sidewalk, and I told them that sidewalk, the tree is the problem with the sidewalk, so they took that off my insurance. So I don't know if other people might be having that problem. So this is something that we really, really need to discuss, because I don't want to see any homeowner being charged for trees that are up sidewalks.
Thank you for that, Councilwoman, but, you know, like you mentioned, this is a prevalent, issue throughout the city. And this will cost millions of dollars, I believe, to correct. Right now, like, you know, we have $350,000 to spend next year. We spent $650 the previous year. So, and before that, we didn't spend anything. So it's, we'll come up with a plan, and it'll be a multi-year plan. It's not gonna get done overnight.
That's fine, but please send that listing out so all our colleagues will know exactly what streets are being taken care of and how we move forward on this. Because like I said, I can't tell from this map what's going on. So I just like to know which streets are being taken care of. Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem, for allowing me the time. Thank you, sir.
Pro Tem?
But I was gonna say that my phone got wet, the speaker is bad. But, when the deputy mayor was there, she only repaired part of my sidewalks. She assured us that we ran out of money. So I do have a list of greater, at least 70 houses that I actually recorded and sent documentation to the city. The city did not act on it. But I will assist the other council members on trying to get this resolved. We need to make our list up and identify the proper way to notify the city. That is their responsibility.
Pro Tem?
Mr. Pro Tem.
Pro Tem, I've been asking for 5 minutes. Could I please speak?
Megan? Yes.
Yes. I just wanted to say that my district, most of my district is not block grant eligible. But the problem in my district is almost every single sidewalk that's damaged is caused by a city tree, because we have so many trees. The youngest are 40 years old, and most of them are 90 to 100 years old. And matter of fact, right up from where that sidewalk he showed, someone was injured. Her whole face was bloody. So that one is on the list. I hope you're taking care of that. But I wanted to ask you a question. So if it isn't caused by a city tree and the resident has to pay for it, how much is a permit for that? Could somebody tell me that?
That would be a building and safety issue.
Does anyone have any idea?
Megan, just submit to them and they can get that information to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr.
Now, let's go
Mr.
into
Pro Tem,
Yes, I understand what you asked.
one of the things, I think it's only fair to tell Mr. Siddiqui, the only reason why we haven't done sidewalks in 10 years is because the mayor has been busy using CDBG money to tear down vacant homes.
Okay.
So right now, DPU is in the process of having to do something that they haven't done, as you said, for about 10 years, because we've been tearing down. The mayor has chosen to use the block grant money to tear down these vacant homes. Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, where we at now? We at the
So I'm
MDOT?
recognized, I think I was next in line in the queue, Mr. Chair. All right. So,
Okay.
yeah, I think, yes, thank you for being recognized, and thank you, Mr. Siddiqui, for an excellent report here. I think what we wanted to bring forth, and that's right, we had, for the last number of years, we had no lack of complaints, as we hear, lots of sidewalks need to be repaired, just lack of funding. And you can see that we've spent maybe $1 million over the last couple years, and that's still just the tip of the iceberg. So what we're bringing to you now is, yes, we want to start a concerted effort, not only to get additional funds, as much funds we can, begin the sidewalk program, but also to begin a systematic interview or inventory of the whole city to discover what all the properties are that have damaged sidewalks, so we can begin this process somewhere and know what the scope of the work we have to do. So yes, a lot of the CDBG money by the dedication we had to removing blighted, abandoned, derelict homes that need to be demolished. We got that out of it, and that has improved our neighborhoods overall. So now we'll have more attention to turn to the sidewalks, and we're just bringing this report to you now so you can see that we're going to do this in a systematic way, get a strategy for getting this done, and beginning to ask for more funds to utilize so that we can get the sidewalks repaired. And also trees. A lot of trees, we have just begun to introduce that problem. So we have something that is millions and millions of dollars. And as you said, Mr. DC, we can't do it all the time, one time, but we can begin to get a plan to begin to address this. All right, and I thank you for that. With that, DPW also has the next special presentation. Shall we move on to that, Mr. Chair?
Anybody died on Perry Street yet?
We're about to give you the report that some of you had asked for in terms of the special presentation. We know that we had the MDOT director who did visit the city and talked about the not only the Woodward Loop conversion and the fact that he has now budgeted that, but has to have the approval of the city to go forward. So we're going to first start out by talking about the other projects that MDOT has had. Of course, the most controversial of that, Perry Street. One of the things that the council did require that MDOT do is to do the traffic studies and crash studies. So they had never presented those to us. We asked them to give those to us so we can give you the true effect of that and to see how that ties in with the complete streets policy that this council did pass, and to see how that whole institution of complete streets also ties in with the fact of what's going on in Perry Street with the real statistics in terms of the trash and the traffic crash and safety studies. So Mr. Siddiqui is also here to give you that information. Mr. Siddiqui?
Thank you, Mayor. So our next special presentation here is for the Perry Street road diet that was completed by MDOT. As the mayor mentioned, this was done in 2018, 2019. It was a project that MDOT wanted to do on Perry Street. City of Pontiac City Council had adopted a complete streets master plan in January of 2017 as a result of extensive public outreach. And that master plan called for buffer bike lanes on Perry Street. So MDOT, as part of their project, they reached out to the city to see what our plans were, and they decided to adopt that and install the buffer bike lanes as the master plan calls. MDOT also held public meetings to present the road diet plan and received no objections at that time. City Council passed a resolution in October of 2018 supporting the reduction of Perry Street to 3 lanes and installation of bike lanes on both sides. That was conditional. The City Council support was conditioned on review of safety after 9 months. If safety had proven to deteriorate, MDOT would revert to the original configuration. MDOT promised to collect and provide the crash data post-construction. And final pavement markings on this project were completed in June 2019, and MDOT in October provided the crash data in October of 2020. September of 2020. So the crash data shows that there's no fatal crashes in the past year on Perry Street. There was 1 serious injury crash in the past year. There were 2 annually in the past previous years. There were 2 on an annual basis. So that's a reduction. There was 1 crash involving bicycles and 1 crash involving pedestrians. There was a slight increase in rear end crashes as drivers got used to the new configuration, and MDOT also blamed some of the recent rear end crashes to increase traffic due to closure of I-75. So a lot of traffic is coming through as detour. The travel time has increased by less than 30 seconds on average daily. MDOT is working with the road commission, the local county, to adjust signal timings to improve flow on Perry Street. So after reviewing the data that MDOT had sent over, our conclusion is that safety has not deteriorated. It has not necessarily improved, but it has not deteriorated. And there's no major capacity concerns on Perry Street. And therefore, since the Complete Streets Master Plan calls for a road diet on Perry Street, and the safety has not deteriorated per MDOT's data, we would recommend that the road diet be maintained for now, and we can ask MDOT to continue data collection for another year, so that we revisit this at that time, if possible.
Okay, Mr. President, I'd like you to go next.
Yes, is that Miller?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
That's
I
my
think
baby
you
here.
have a sidewalk over in your area along Perry Street, no people walking in the streets, and I think,
They are walking the street.
yeah.
Now, I'm going to speak, and I just, Mr. Still, you weren't here when I all started, so you probably don't know the initial how it worked out. But basically, them got lied to us and put it out there. They told us they were going to do it for 6 months and never removed it. I noticed that in your presentation, you never mentioned that the council brought forward 2 resolutions to bring the streets back where they were, to the 5 lanes, twice. And them not having chosen to do so. When you find out you got a bad, I can't deal with MDOT. I don't believe any of what you just said to me from MDOT. Don't take it personally. MDOT may want to take it personally. Absolutely none of that is true. What they fail to forget is that I live here, and there are plenty of accidents, but some of them don't get reported. There were 2 that were laid off and killed the guy, but she swerved and missed. These are people I've talked with. But MDOT don't have that in that report, does it? Perry Street is a nightmare. There's an accident waiting to happen one day for someone to be killed. That should stay a 5-lane highway.
So,
Yeah.
ma'am, are you?
Yes, I live over here. That's part of my district. And I know, and like I said, as Carter said, there are people that walk along the street. Remember the streets I just mentioned to you with sidewalks, some of those are over there by Kettering? There's no sidewalk for them to walk. out in the middle of the street. It is very dangerous when they carry that way. And I will go out on everything for this. I'm going to use this next year for the election. People over there are furious to the day that you won't turn the street back to 5 lanes. Every street is too entirely fit to have only 1 lane going each way. I see accidents there all the time. I have relatives in the street all the time. That's how I keep up with it. And friends. It's a total nightmare. So them guys can take that discussion until they want to come back and say, hey, we want to put those streets back. So,
And one thing I would- One thing I will say is, if pedestrians are walking in the street, it's safer now for them to walk in the bike lane, as opposed to walking in the drive lane previously.
Well, they still walking down the street, even though I'm seeing this before you listening to me. And I'm gonna be honest, sometimes I forget that they're a bike lane, and I drive and I check myself because I've been here all my life and that street's in 5 lanes. People don't respect those bike lanes like they do. They really probably don't mean nothing, but I find people riding down them all the time. When the lady gets respected, that 1 lane, you know what they do? They go another lane. And there's people on bikes out there in the lane, right? So what happens? They run up on them and they almost hit them. It's bad. It's really bad. And they're never going to let them die off the line. Long as I'm sitting on this council, put every street back to 5 lanes. That is not a street that needs to be 5 lanes, not in that area. I have nothing against bike lanes, it's just not too busy for that. And thank God the kids are not in school right now, because if we had kids in school, because I have 2 high schools over here. 2 high school and middle school. So thank God that we got some cover right now, because when they come across the street, they're getting hit because of the traffic, because we got that 1 lane now. So that's another issue.
Would you disagree
So
would you disagree with the crash data that says that there was no fatal crash in 1 year?
Oh, I don't disagree. I think it's a plain out lie, because I'm just going to tell you like it is. I don't know what you're saying. That is not. Let me put you on that board. It's almost a joke. It's just I'm telling them that I know my history.
You know, Councilwoman.
But they have to put that here because they're not justified for shooting that way.
We got more
That's
accidents
okay.
over at, Andreas, wherever that restaurant is.
Donald.
Yeah, you got plenty of accidents almost every Friday there. Yes, and it's
I
not
mean,
showing
all the
that.
time. All the time.
Mr. Siddiqui, if I could just clarify, I think just for clarification, when council passed the resolution in 2018, it was for a trial period, and it did not indicate in the resolution that it was going to be based on a crash study. So that's incorrect. They had the option to review it, and if in fact they wanted to remove the lanes, they could. That was how they proceeded. And so, again, they moved afterwards. And again, this is not contingent on seeing crash study data. That was something that MDOT presented after the fact, after council requested that the lane be removed. And so, again, on June 11th in 2019, they passed a resolution to revert it back. And so, after that, you're going to see that MDOT presented the crash study. So just to clarify, they did not pass the resolution contingent on crash study data. So that's not correct. Even though I do understand that the crash study data has been presented and it shows what you have presented, that there haven't been these fatalities and so forth. So just clarifying that. Thank you.
I just want to clarify 2 points. So I think one thing is, so you mentioned the resolution was passed in June 2019. The project
We fought for it. We had more than one. We fought for 2.
So they did multiple. So it wasn't just that one. It was another one. I just don't have the date in front of me. So they did give it even extra time. So Mr. Siddiqui, we're beyond that. I'm just letting you know that they gave it more time, and time wasn't really the issue anymore because they were told that the crash study data, it got changed. And I think even the mayor can attest to that because she even agreed that it was changed. So, but this is just where we are. I get it. like I said, this is what they're putting forth. Again, with the crash study doesn't show that it needs to be changed, but that is not how council proceeded. So I'm just leaving it.
And my other point is as you all know, this is not a city road, so we have very limited authority here as far as DPW. It's MDOT jurisdiction.
They needed the consent of council to go forward with doing it, and that is how they got it. So again, I'm just letting you know.
And then at this point, I guess we're at an impasse because DPW can't force MDOT's and so I'm not sure how to proceed.
It's nothing, if you don't mind, it's something, like I said to you, you weren't here, it's nothing you do personally, but see what it does for me, for MDOT gonna need something else in the city, as far as I'm concerned, and I'm not gonna test, because you're not a person of your word. I stood up at chair of the meeting when they came in and brought 2 or 3 people to the table and said to me, face to face, verbatim, this was a trial here. I trusted them. They played me. They played the council in layman's terms, okay? They never came back and replaced, and you could get a tape and roll it. When they told the president that if we wanted to revert the streets back, it would be no problem, and it would be no expense to the city. Thank God there's videotape for that. That's what they said.
So you would not be open to collecting data for another year
No, let me take the data and take it with them. Take the data and take it with them.
If MDOT has a project and MDOT constructs a sidewalk, is MDOT to be held liable for any damages if that sidewalk breaks?
Sidewalk is maybe not a good example because
I'm
sidewalk.
just asking, but if MDOT has a project and they install a sidewalk and it breaks, that shouldn't be a homeowner or anybody else's liability. Will MDOT be responsible to maintain that sidewalk to the life?
It depends on if the sidewalk has lasted the expected life or not. If the sidewalk breaks after 1 year or 2 months after construction, then you could say, okay, the construction was shoddy, right? But if the sidewalk lasts 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and then it breaks, no, that's no longer.
Then you're gonna say that it's the homeowner's responsibility?
Yes.
I just try to get the legal stuff out.
Yes, that's my understanding, and obviously,
Okay.
the
All right.
lawyer can talk more.
All right, I'm good. If anybody else has any questions on that, maybe we should have MDOT do any more projects in the city.
Well, Mr. Chair, there are MDOT roads here, so if you're not gonna have any projects, that means they can't do anything. They can't take care of Woodward, they can't take care of Perry, they can't take care of the other state assigned roads. I think what Mr. Siddiqui did was do a good presentation of the crash studies, so that we can see what the actual facts are. We've heard different things and folklore about what the traffic studies are. We now have the actual facts, all right?
Sorry, Madam
So
Mayor.
that's can I just finish, Abdul?
Go ahead.
I wanted to actually have a chance for him to present that, so we had council have the information we have. But unless you go to the state and realign the whole state assignments of who controls what streets, this is the situation right now, all right? So we just want to be truthful for you. And I was disappointed as you were.
Well, you know, excuse me,
Excuse me, may I finish, please? I have the floor, please. I gave you the courtesy, may I have the courtesy? What I would like to say, Councilwoman Miller, thank you, is that we want to just present to you the facts. It's what happened in the past. We are where we are right now. What do we want to do? All right, so now you have the information. Go back a little bit, Abdul, please, to the part where you said, council passed the complete streets. And this is what is happening as a result of that complete streets. It was passed by council January 4th, 2017. All right? So that is the situation right now. And the state has that assignment to MDOT. They have responsibility for certain arteries. And that's just the fact of life. All right? So,
Would it be, so this is the data that MDOT sent over, the spreadsheet. Would it be helpful for me to send this over to all of you? Because I summarized the findings that were here, but if
You can
you'd like
send
to send this.
I can appreciate that.
I will let you know that what page your paper would be. Don't need anything.
Councilwoman people would appreciate it, Mr. Siddiqui.
Yeah, they your paper would be.
all right.
I'm
Randy, we'll go to the
I'm surprised nobody asked for a feasibility study of how many bicycles ride up and down Perry Street. Them guys at camera probably ought to be one a month.
They ain't gonna do that. That makes them look bad. Why do you think they're not doing it?
I understand.
Randy, why don't you go to the next one?
Yeah, but moving to resolution number 7.
No, recognition of elected officials. It's recognition of elected officials on time.
Okay, Mr. Clerk? Do it.
Yes,
Right.
Pro Tem. I'm sorry, I'm here.
No, recognition of elected officials?
They received-
After number 7? I mean,
I didn't receive any unless any are on the call. I didn't receive any.
And agenda draft and,
And-
item.
No,
Who's hosting this meeting?
you know, we're trying to figure out exactly where we're at. We at number 7 is at Preston Thomas.
Everybody.
right, so no agenda dress, no elected, so you are now at number 7. Just the resolution for, the late judge at the time.
Mr. Chair, may I say also that, I was present at the funeral of
Just
our.
1 minute, Madam Mayor.
Sure.
Would you like the
Mr.
resolution read,
Mr. Chairman,
colleague,
I introduced
or you want to accept
this
it?
resolution, and I'm going to ask my colleagues, to pass this resolution in honor of Judge Preston Thomas. This was a resolution that I had asked Attorney Sharp to put together to be presented to the family. I was there on Wednesday. I was not allowed because there was only a minimum of people who could be there on Thursday. I did hear that the mayor did show up, but this resolution was read in its entirety at the service on Thursday. So I'm asking my colleagues to please pass this resolution in honor of Judge Preston Thomas.
Mr. Chair, I was trying to say that this was a.
Councilwoman Waterman, is the resolution in our packet?
I believe there is a copy,
Yes.
Councilwoman, Pete.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Pro Tem Carter, you need a move and a support.
Second.
So move
I
to
move.
accept.
Support.
I feel supportive. I'm gonna call the roll. Carter,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Petola,
Yes.
Ramsky,
Yes.
Taylor Burks,
Yes.
Waterman.
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays.
And Mr. Chair, I do commend the council on passing this resolution. I also want to say that in honor of a sitting judge who died in office, that the city did fly the mast, did fly the flag,
The flag
City
at
Hall
half-mast.
half-mast in honor of Preston Thomas, who was the sitting judge at the time he died. Just wanted to share that information that the city did get that.
Still have some ability.
So Pro Tem Carter, you're now on item 8, which is the resolution to authorize the interim city clerk to publish a notice for the proposed budget amendment for fiscal year 2020-2021 to reallocate $125,700 council's adopted budgeted expenditures from the general fund parks ground maintenance department to contractual mowing services expenditure accounts with the general funds park ground maintenance department, major street fund, and local street fund. This item has come back.
Yeah, that's one of the last documents that I actually received in my mailbox, and I think Attorney Sharp spoke on that particular issue, if I last can recall, that we was asking for, what particular mowing services were done, that they need to be done multiple times for these mowings that were not done. Attorney Sharp, can you speak on that?
That wasn't really, probably what I spoke to. I think this is just a matter of, again, DPW, this is an amendment because they were requesting additional funds. It was the council president who had the questions about, again, what was initially in the budget. It was explained that the contractor, a contractor was, I think, hired in April because of the additional services that they were going to provide. And with that, were additional expenses. But again, the timing, the contractor was hired in, if I remember correctly, March or April. And again, this was before the budget. So his question was, again, how much was in the initial budget and why is it severely over? Was it because of the fact that there was an error in budgeting? Because it shouldn't be so expensive. I believe that was the discussion that was had at the last time we discussed this issue. Thank you.
Council President Pro Tem,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ringo is on this call. Maybe Mr. Ringo can explain, if I remember right, it's because we have a new contractor and we got rid of United. We have a new contractor, and this new contractor is also going to do snow removal. And they would like to pay him before they have to ask him to remove snow.
Yeah, both are correct. However, what was submitted that was in the package is still not correct. What's actually in the package is the correct amount. What's actually in the headlines that the clerk read off of 125,000 is not correct. What's actually in the package is, and if I can share my screen, I can show what's actually in the package for resolution number 8. I think it was an accident or an error that was initially sent, and here we go. So this is actually in your package, Council Pro Tem and the council members. It's a request for 190,000, and Mr. Carrington and I went over the numbers, and here is a presentation just to kind of give an explanation of why it's not 125,000 that we discussed. And I can just kind of answer Attorney Sharp's, respond to Attorney Sharp's statements, which are correct, and what Council President was looking for was, again, was this an error? Yes, it was an error. The council approved the switch in vendors. However, we were later, by the time we approved it or got it approved, we were later in the budget planning season, and the error was we did not go back and make the adjustment from when the budget season initially and budgets were submitted. Again, it was actually approved in May of 2020, and at that time, when we were working through to have this proposed, it hadn't been approved and it was not figured. So it is an error. And so the contract for the new vendor was approved late during the budget season, and was not reflected in the actually approved fiscal 21 budget. The actual budgeted amount that was carried over was actually $162,000 for mowing. Now we also consolidated and went to one vendor to have one vendor for landscape and snow, but we also consolidated services that was previously provided with United and also with the Elam. And so that budget amount was, from the jump, was nowhere near correct with the original 162,000. And so today, since July 1, under the new contract, we have spent 262,000 and owe another 90,000 for September and October invoices. And so that total spend is 352,000. That will conclude for the calendar year. So the contract with the new vendor, again, was increased cost. The previous vendor had the contract for 3 years. Their services and their cuts was not as frequent as the new contractor. We received more cuts, improved service, and we even received a schedule which has been shared multiple times with members of council and at the DPW subcommittee meetings to show exactly what areas are being cut and how often by the new vendor. Again, the prior fiscal year budget was quickly used and exhausted because we had an increased amount with the new vendor beginning this year, and we did not adjust for that in the budget. And so the amount that we're requesting, which is actually $190,000, will cover the cost for this year's summer and fall cutting season. And so the final summary is just again, more of a highlight to kind of touch on what Attorney Sharp spoke on as well, is that again, the budget began with $162,000, we paid $262 again, and we still have 2 invoices for September and October this year for $90. And again, we just didn't account for that in the contract price.
I appreciate that, Mr. Ringel. I guess we just have to pay it. I appreciate the fact that the city is able to go back and repair and make sure that the people are paid what was due to them. I swear I wish Clark Hill and Coco was also paid the same way.
Clark Hill was paid, but Ms. Seward has not been paid. Clark Hill has been paid, Ms. Seward has not been paid. As a matter of fact, she initiated an email of pay.
Thank you. Ms. Sharp, thank you very much for that updated information, because when I had to write a letter to both of them, since I hadn't heard anything from them. So, Mr. Clerk, we had the budget amendment request for the resolution.
Move.
Support.
One question for the clerk. Because this amount was changed, doesn't this have to have notice in the paper or something? Would they be voting to publish the new amount
So
for the amendment?
this item has not been published.
Okay.
This is to publish it. So there's a change in the amount that's,
Yeah.
So moved to publish.
but I'm sorry. So what's the correct amount? Is not in the,
The $190,000.
It's $190,000, that is inside the package. It's in the package, but the headline that was read was reflective of what was submitted last week, which is incorrect. So
the item that is, the item 8, the actual resolution is correct.
that is correct.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Clerk. Appreciate it.
Okay.
So we need to
Oh, wait,
modify the agenda and put the
Wait a
correct
minute, Pro Tem. So it was moved by
Mary.
and then supported by,
Attorney.
then you actually need to vote on the item. So Carter,
Yes.
Miller,
Yeah.
Petola,
Yes.
Dramsky,
Yes.
Taylor Burks,
Yes.
Waterman.
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays. And then now you're on item number 9, Pro Tem.
No,
And the budget amendment was already published, so you can actually take formal action on this reimbursement from Oakland County.
And both, Mr. Chair, both Erwin Williams, our CFO, who is, and the new finance director, Darren Carrington, are both here to, if you have any questions about that agenda item, to accept that money from the grant related to the CARES Act reimbursement. You want to hear from Mr. Williams, or?
Mr. Pro
Yes.
Tem,
Yes.
I'm just saying, this is money that's coming to the city?
Yes.
Yes.
This money coming to the city, it's a reimbursement from Oakland County for which passed through from the state to them for the sheriff contract. And the 629,000 was our share.
I'm moving.
Support.
What we gonna do? What we gonna do with it? Where's the money going? Is that where's the money going?
The money would go back into the general fund.
And so that's up.
You have a move by Waterman and a support from Petola. I'll follow the roll. Miller,
Yeah.
Petola,
Yes.
Dramsky,
Yes.
Taylor Burks,
Yes.
Waterman,
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Okay, 6 yeas, no nays. So now you're at your last agenda item, number 10. Resolution to hire TJ Adams and Associates, an executive search firm.
Yes, I will introduce this, Mr. Chair, and I have here also Kira Davison, who is our HR manager. And in this resolution, as you know, the city has a vacancy at the deputy mayor position. Our deputy mayor, Jane Sessa, was with us for 6 years, has now relocated the city manager to Colorado. So we need to fill that position because she served a very vital post here, also offered a lot of expertise. So in doing this, we had changed the definition of that position from a part-time deputy mayor under my administration to someone who was full-time who had professional expertise, as cities are often run these days to assist all the things that are going on in Pontiac. And that was a function that the deputy mayor did serve. This is a hard position to fill because right now city managers are much in demand. There are cities all over Michigan who have been searching for city managers. I think Ann Arbor has been at it for about 8 months. So we need to have some expertise to do that, as we need to have as much vacated position to fill. And I'm going to bring back to you for that purpose is somebody who's well known to the city of Pontiac because they filled that position for us before, and that is the search firm of TJ Adams and Associates as executive search firm to do that. They were also the ones who helped identify our finance director here in Carrington. So I'm asking by this perhaps city council enable me to engage them to do this and so that we can get this search underway, fill this position, so I won't have to fill it with interim people just filling in some time in order to get these functions fulfilled and the city can continue to operate in the way it has been doing. So we do have here both the job description and the amount, as well as the proposal from the TJ Adams firm, that search. And I do have Kira Davidson, who is here. Kira, if you also want to speak to this particular issue with HR manager, and we do have a representative from the TJ Adams firm. I believe that's Tanya Bowman who's present, if there are any questions.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Okay, one of my first questions, because I've encountered multiple problems with our code enforcement officers who we have had no say in their hiring. Madam Mayor, the deputy mayor, I will ask that we have an opportunity to interview this person because you guys are interviewing code enforcement officers who are telling me that things are happening that are not happening in my district. When the red Jeep is where the white Oldsmobile is, the red Jeep has nothing to do with where the white Oldsmobile that sits there with the plate, with no plate for over a year. The red Jeep has nothing to do, and it is not approved when there's a pole barn on a vacant lot, and the people are jumping curbs, and he's telling me that there's no violation. There's no driveway, but there's a pole barn and 2 trucks in the yard. How did they get in the yard? Did they up their wings and fly? For this reason, I am going to ask that we be able to interview this person you find for a deputy mayor before you hire them. Thank you, Mr. President.
I was just gonna raise one question about it before we got any deeper, because I know the mayor's name was mentioned in there as a character reference. I think that would be a conflict of interest that we use to confirm that the mayor is in the contract. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody might not even be a board member. I think we should choose wisely who we decide to use to select our deputy mayors.
Councilman Carter, can I say something?
Sure, I would expect you to.
Yeah, first of all, I don't think we need to do it at all. We only got a year left in our term, and if they do like they've been doing, they're gonna take 6, 8 months. They're gonna use all that up, spend all the money. And by the way, how much is this gonna cost the city? And I feel offended, I've been here in the city, I'm sure you have part of it here all my life. And I never see the deputy mayor go out, we go out and search. Please tell me, Mayor, that we don't have anybody in your staff or within the city that's been in politics or been in, that you can't hire for the last year of your term. I think it's kind of insult myself.
If that's a question, then, I can answer that question for me.
Of course.
All right, number one, I'm not sure what the character reference you're referring to. I think what is in the packet you have just refers to the fact that under the charter, the deputy mayor is appointed by the mayor, and that's just in the charter. So it's not I'm not sure what you're referring to character reference. That's something altogether different. But in terms of Councilman Petola indicated that they would like to have some review of the deputy mayor. And as you remember, although I'm not required to do so by the charter, I did do that when Deputy Mayor Jane DeSessa was brought. If you remember, and I know that's been 6 years ago. But as we went through and had the search firm help us identify and to vet of the best candidates, that we did bring to you the two, I may have been three, but I think we brought the final two candidates and had them interviewed by council, if you remember. So that was at my goodwill to have the council know and to have be part of that choice. So remember, I did have that as part of the process before, and going forward, I don't know how long it's going to take to identify people, and with this COVID pandemic, that plays a part in terms of people interviewing. And as I said, this is a high sought after market. We're not offering as much as some other communities. The community Jane left us for paid her 50% more than she gets here. So, we are up against a number of obstacles, and the best way to get the best candidates for that, and it includes local people. In fact, I just left another meeting where I said, I'm hoping that some of the younger people who are progressive and who want to have a part and be trained in city government may also apply for that. We'll be actively looking for local people. But I do need the help of the search firm, because this, to do it the right way, requires a lot of time and effort and expertise. And right now, I just don't have bandwidth to do that by myself. So use the search firm before with good opportunity, good results. I think the council has well been able to see the results they produced for us at a nominal cost. And so I do ask that you again approve them. And they're here again, if you have the questions that you're asking me, you want to ask them, or of our HR director, because they'll them directly.
Any of the colleagues have any questions? I don't have any. As far as I remember, my memory is bad, but I thought the EM at the Treasury selected Jane. She got overpaid.
Right.
For that
I
position.
agree with you, and she was hired in 2016, October 26th is the day that I met her.
And I myself, I will not be voting for this, just on record, because I think that's a waste of taxpayers' money to go out and search for someone. You've been here almost 6-7 years, you should know someone. I'm sure Jane told you you see. You don't have to put out a research firm, give them some money, put some money in their pocket just to find someone. I will not agree to this. I'm just going to go on record. I'm not going to agree to this. I think you should get your deputy mayor, but I don't think you should give you. And by the way, what is the cost of it? Nobody asked how much it's going to cost. And I just have to put this on record. That's just me. I can only speak for me. But the people that TJ got us before, well, they're gone. There's a reason. And they weren't all that great because they were decent.
Mr. Carrington was picked by.
Councilwoman Miller, it's in the resolution. Councilwoman Miller, it's in the resolution in terms of the, it's $29,085. Payment to be paid, the first payment of $9,695 will be paid at the signing of the agreement. The second payment of $9,695 will be paid in 30 days, and the final adjusted payment is due when the candidate is hired. But it's in the resolution.
We can use that on the sidewalk. Yeah. That's why I met with that. That's a purely taxpayers' money.
Just to remind people that the search firm was also the ones who found for us Mr. Carrington, very able candidate. He is here, and I think council met him. And excuse me, I didn't hear the interjection from Councilwoman Miller.
I said, oh, that's your opinion. Couple are gone, and they didn't get approved by the council, so they weren't, you hyped it up here, but they weren't all bad for they were beat. But we lost many people that this firm have fighted. So their expertise is not quite that great.
We have not lost many people. fees from his hire.
I'm done with it. I'm just done with it.
I'm just trying to give us facts, but Mr. Darren Carrington, who is our finance director, who you have met, many of you have worked with, you've seen her capability, he's coming in at a great time, doing a good job for the city in the few weeks he's been here. He was also the product of a search that was aided by the TJ Adams firm. I just want to point that out to council.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the body? Well, Mr. Clerk, since everyone's quiet, I can reserve this right here to President Williams comes back next week, and we can deal with it. Table it for next. Let the president handle this. Not happy to have it all.
So next on the agenda is public comment, and I did not receive any public comments. Pro Tem Carter.
Thank you, sir.
So final will be closing comments.
Okay. Madam Mayor?
Yes, I'd be happy to give closing comments. First, I want to wish everyone a happy but safe Thanksgiving. We've all been reminded by the recent public safety comments in terms of our health and welfare, and we want to make sure that we observe that. There's several things the city has been doing actively to participate in helping people get the information they need. But two things I want to announce. Number one, we're going to offer COVID-19 testing free of charge December the 12th in the morning, right here at City Hall parking lot. In addition to the fact that there will be testing, the county is going to move the testing they have at the Oakland County facility to Pontiac. It's going to be at the South Boulevard Fire Station. We think that's going to start as early as next week. So we'll give about additional announcements. In addition to that, I do want to let council know, I did let you know by email as well, but yesterday I did execute the documents, the binding agreements with the equity partner. So that brings to a conclusion and gets the city into a deal that will not only get us out of this default state we were in with the previous settlement agreement, but also bring an agreement to mind in which we have, we will close in January or for an extra $50,000 we needed in February. And then we'll bring to an end this saga of Phoenix Center in a way that is so well done for the city of Pontiac. It's going to cost us $19.9 million, okay? But for that, we get an equity partner that's going to do all the repairs, do all the operations for the garage that the city lost money on, and leave the residents with being able to maintain ownership of the Phoenix Center garage and amphitheater. And someday, in the hopefully not too distant future, if we do some repairs there, we will do repairs and renovations for the amphitheater and begin to be able to utilize that for the citizens. So this is a great day for Pontiac, and a number of people are reverberating with this messaging around the city. So there are a number of other public service announcements, particularly in terms of the health and safety and welfare of our citizens. And for that, I'm going to speak to the public tomorrow at 1 o'clock at a public service announcement that will be broadcast Facebook Live, as well as it will run on our cable station, in terms of some other advisories and information that we want to give our citizens. But in the meantime, I want to wish everybody a very joyful Thanksgiving. Just want to be mindful of the numbers and how we have to keep ourselves safe, the precautions we want to use, so that as this vaccine nears and the distribution is going to be decided, that we're seeing the light at the end of this tunnel of this very dread disease that has affected and impacted so many. But we want to thank all those who gathered together to support people who have been affected in any way by this disease, have delivered food, have helped to lift up those and helped to rejoin our spirits. I do thank you. I do thank everybody for being participating in that. I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving.
Mr. Clerk, remark?
I'm going to use So I'm going to use my time to just give the final update on the election. I think I was supposed to give this report like weeks ago, but it got delayed. So this is just a final report on the election that took place on November 3rd. So the clerk's office, we extended over 85 and a half hours of additional service to the public for voting. We had weekend hours, we had extended weekday hours. We were open Monday through Thursday until 8 o'clock. We were open a number of weekends as well, too. We had a service team, primarily Mr. Starks in my office did that, but we serviced an additional 48 voters who were unable to come to City Hall to vote. Either they were located in shelters, senior communities, hospitals, or private residents as well, too. We did have 7 ballot drop boxes that were well utilized throughout the election. Those drop boxes are permanent drop boxes, and we will be able to utilize those drop boxes for the 2021 election that we had as well. There were a number of mailings that the office did. We did one for absentee voting. And this was very important because a lot of times absentee ballots are thrown out in a sense because people don't sign. We sent out a mailer to remind people to sign their absentee ballots, to date them as well. We've heard a lot over these past few weeks about absentee ballots all over the nation. And then we sent out a sample ballot as well to voters. I just want to acknowledge all of the temporary people that worked in our office throughout the election. There were a number of them. Their names are listed there. And in addition, we actually had somebody on loan from DPW, Derek Hardy. But these were all of our temporary workers. And then on election day, we had 203 workers. And as you know, each election official had an apron on, so they were easily identifiable with the name tag as well. Just to give you some perspective, this past election in November, we had 22,547 people to vote. That was a 46% turnout rate. This time, 67% of our voters voted by absentee, 15,177. And then 7,370 went to the polls. As you can see, that's a lot different from 4 years ago, where over 15,000 people went to the polls and only 4,640. This gives a breakdown from 2016 and 2020 of voter turnout by precinct. Now, we did do like some canvassing in some areas where low voter turnout. The Secretary of State had identified a number of precincts that had low voter turnout. So the ones that are in yellow, we did remind people of the relation. You can see that there was an uptick in voting as opposed to 2016. So we're in district precinct 7, 8, 9, 10, and all of those experienced an increase.
Thank you.
We did receive a lot of positive media publicity throughout the election. We were featured in the Detroit News, the New York Times, the Associated Press, on the 92.3 as well too. And those were some of the topics that were addressed. And then here's just a thank you to everyone. I didn't want to call off individual names because there were so many people that helped us, our community partners, our advisory committee, the fraternities and sororities really stepped up, volunteers, the city administration was helpful as well too. Our election workers, the Secretary of State's office helped us in a lot of ways as well too. Polling locations. And that concludes my comments.
Waterman?
Oh, and I do want to mention, I'm sorry, I do want to mention, which is really important. The canvas has been completed, and we were able to resolve all of our issues with the canvas, which is probably one of the first times in Pontiac that has actually happened, where all of the issues got resolved at the canvas. By that I mean, if a precinct may have been like one voter off or something like that, maybe there was one more in the poll book and it's counted, but all of those issues got resolved. And I really want to thank Joanne Williams, our elections administrator. So I really fought really hard to get her here. It really showed, and I think that everybody saw just how different and how well ran our elections were, and as well as the assistance that we got from Mary Castro in our office. And Mary has been a temp, but she has really stepped up and has really participated and made a really positive impact in our office. So I did want to acknowledge those. Thank you.
Councilperson Waterman?
Thank you, Pro Tem. I don't know what happened to my pad. It just knocked me out. I just got back in. So what I'm going to say to everybody is I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Please be safe. Enjoy your holiday with your limited amount of friends and family. God bless you all, and talk to you a little later. Have a good day.
Part of the day.
Chief Rose,
Maybe you got first.
Father.
Chief Rosen, Mr. Clerk, why don't you move forward into the host?
Councilwoman Pedala, for you, just a little second. Councilwoman Miller.
I'm just going to shut my alarm off because my alarm is going. You can call on the next person and I'll come back.
Councilwoman Miller.
I want to be last. I don't want to be right now. I got
Councilwoman Shramsky.
I'm here. I wanted to wish Maddie Hatchett and Nikki Hatchett a happy birthday. She was one of my early power figures. I worked in the office with her for 2 years when I was in elementary school. I told you they didn't know what to do with me. And I know that many of you know her as a former Oakland County Commissioner and activist in the community, but I knew her as principal of Bethune School. And one of the things that she did when I was there was she brought in assistant professors from OU and OCC to teach us math. And that was something that was not done at a elementary school level at the time. And so, although Maddie, I'm very good at math, I do hate it, but I thank you for your innovation. And back to the sidewalks, I do realize that that is a building and safety issue when I was asking about the permit price. There was a reason I was asking that. I was trying to get what it might be if we had a special assessment, how, and I have some ideas about that. And no surprise, Mr. Dan Ringo, you'll be hearing from me. I'm sure you'll enjoy that. And everybody have a nice Thanksgiving.
Councilwoman Pedala.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I would like to first wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving. And yes, please remember, we're supposed to stick people in our household and limited no more than 10. My father passed last week, and yes, I wasn't supposed to be here. Everybody thought I was going to be gone. I thought I was going to be gone. The funeral has been changed from the 23rd to the 30th, and I will not be attending. I will be here. But I do want to thank Jack and Jackie Katie for the lovely plans, as well as Nowak and Foss Engineers. They sent the plans over as well. you never know what the weather's gonna be like when you travel 600 miles away and you have no way of predicting it. And the funeral will be on November the 30th, meaning December the 1st would be the first day I could come home. And I do not travel to the UP 600 miles away in December, nor do I travel back. So with that, I want to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving. Please stay safe. And if you have sidewalks that get covered with snow, please remember to remove that snow as the ordinance calls for within 24 hours. And Madam Mayor, maybe you can have them put that ordinance on Facebook and also on the city website where it's visible instead of having to search for the ordinance. Thank you very much.
Dr. Bailey?
I just want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy yourself. Of course, it's not going to be like it used to be, but the few family members that you are lucky enough or able enough to come and just have fun with, do that and be safe. Thank you.
And Councilwoman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Okay, I got 3 items in real quickly. Mine's not gonna go off on a quick note. I've been having trouble with this thing for a week now, and now I need to speak. First of all, let's start with the dangerous animal ordinance. My mailman was attacked last week from 2 animals over here in my district, right behind me. I got a call, and I don't know how he's doing to the present moment, but these 2 animals attacked the mailman, and he had to be taken to the hospital. So I've asked Mayor, I have sent the administration, Mayor, email. I haven't received anything back from Attorney Silver, from you, Mayor, in regards to this. But I have residents over here quite upset, and we want to get an ordinance done for the dogs in this city. And if I could go around, let's get better, and go around and advocate with citizens of making that put your administration feet to the fire. There's too many animals hurting our kids, our residents, and there's nothing being done to the people that own these dogs. These owners, or whether a dog, cat, or whatever animal it is, you got to be held accountable. Nothing happened to that particular animal. He went back home, and the mailman went to the hospital. And I just thought, what are we going to do on that one there? And my second thing is that I wanted to bring up about the Ottawa Tower deal. Now, this is my opinion, and I have my own, and I have to say what I feel because I don't have the source and avenue of getting on TV and talking about it. I think that it was the worst deal because it probably happened to the citizens' money. As Randy would put it, we got screwed again. We got nothing out the deal. Yes, the taxpayers don't have to pay on that end, but I heard the mayor say 19.9 million. That's going to fall onto another council. And I'm glad that I can say that I had no target because it was asinine crazy. They got everything, and we giving our money. And I'm also finding out with the schools that we acquired from. That did anyone do a appraisal of the school to see what the school was? I know about that school because of my cancer and I'm speaking to the school. That school got a lot of issues going on with it. It takes millions of dollars to pick it up. Who are we going to sell it to? Who's going to do that? So, City of Pontiac, if you really want to know a lot of stuff, call me. I'll talk to you too. I don't talk much, but one thing I'm not going to do. I'm not going to be pushed up my back against the wall. Listen to other people telling me my job. You elected me to do this, to make the decision. Nobody speaks for me but you. Nobody but the citizens. And my last thing is, I want to leave with last week we was in a closed session meeting. And Mayor Peeler told me to kiss her ass. I want all the citizens out there to hear that. Because I'm going to use that all next year. And let you know that's the kind of person that I work with. That's the respect that I got on this level. I don't know how she get away with the things she does and say the things. And by the way, I'll put the president out there. I sent an email to him asking him to address it and to send it to her. But as always, he dropped the ball and he walked away. But that's okay. But I'm going to make sure that my residents know what happened. And I'm going to make sure I'm not worried about getting elected. I let my work speak for itself. But think about this when you elect people, who they are. If you really want to know, I'm going to tell you for the next 11 months. I've been having stuff going on with these boards. I'm no longer doing it anymore. Because it's hurting you with these deals that we're doing for you. They're hurting you. Thank you, Scarlett, and I'm done.
So a council member needs to adjourn the meeting. Clerk can adjourn
Okay, the meeting adjourned.
at 2:10.